Anybody that thinks that we can't solve the problems here in the United States and be the leader of the free world has a pretty small view of the greatest nation on earth.
That is incorrect.
We can do both, Vivek. We've done both. We've been the leader of the free world and the arsenal of democracy for years. The Reagan Doctrine years ago made it clear. We said, if you're willing to fight the communists on your soil, we'll give you the means to fight them there so our troops don't have to fight them. Vivek, if we do the giveaway that you want to give to Putin to give him his land, it's not going to be too long before he rolls across a NATO border, and frankly, our men and women of our armed forces are going to have to go and fight him. I want to let the Ukrainians fight and drive Putin and the Russians back out into Russia.
I want to just briefly address Pence. Vice President Pence. I have a newsflash. The USSR does not exist anymore. It fell back in 1990.
Did I say
the real
USSR?
threat? You talked about the communists, and the real communists that we have to address right now.
Do you not have any idea what Vladimir Putin's aims are?
You already spoke. Now I actually have something to say.
Vladimir Putin has been saying he wants to reestablish the old Soviet sphere
You've made your point,
influence.
Vice President.
Now, if you think I'm sorry if I insulted him by calling him a communist. He is a dictator and a murderer, and the United States of America needs to stand against authoritarianism.
Mr. Ramaswamy, 30 seconds.
Respond. The real threat we face today is communist China, and we are driving Russia further into China's arms. The Russia-China military alliance is the single greatest threat we face. Nobody in either political party is talking about it, and I am the only non-neocon on this stage who will keep us out of war.
Mr. Vice President, we can't hear. Mr. Vice President,
is to give Russia everything they've got.
Mr. Vice President,
give them a promise that Ukraine will never be in NATO, and then somehow China will not think about taking Taiwan. We achieve peace through strength.
Mr. Vice
President,
America
needs to stand for freedom.
Okay, here we go.
I think we need to establish some ground rules
When we hear this bell,
yes,
that means your time's done.
We're done.
So, Mr. Vice President, we appreciate your aggressiveness here. 30 seconds is 30 seconds. Mr. Ramaswamy, you were mentioned. You get 30 seconds.
So the reality is that today, Ukraine is not a priority for the United States of America. And I think that the same people who took us into the Iraq War, the same people who took us into the Vietnam War, you cannot start another no-win war. And I do not want to get to the point where we're sending our military resources abroad when we could be better using them here at home to protect our own borders, protect the homeland.
All right.
That will be my top priority in foreign policy.
I think we gave you
protect
more than
this
the 30
homeland.
seconds in the rebut. So
yes, it's important.
This is a bigger issue than people want to admit. And you know what? There's enough people that know where this war in Ukraine is headed if we allow it to continue without making our presence felt with saying there has to be a way to broker peace between the two nations. And we know that that's possible. In fact, we were pretty close about a year ago, and we all know why that didn't happen. This is a war for money and profit, like all wars are. We already know what BlackRock is doing, getting themselves set up in Kiev and other places within the country. And anyone who comes on that stage and says, we have to end this war, like Vivek said, and then you see the ones like Nikki Haley, who was not in that clip, but obviously very poignant and forceful as Mike Pence was, that will play to the very affluent and bougie parts of the major political parties who will never, ever have to pick up a weapon in their life to defend a nation. But to the overwhelming majority of people, I think this is a huge issue. And I think if Trump is the nominee and says we have to end the war in Ukraine, and Biden says, no, we have to keep going, that will be the difference in the election, in my opinion. Your thoughts?
I hope so. I mean, I think Vivek did really well in this clip, at least, and really made himself stand out as somebody who is the most anti-war Republican on the stage, and running, and has a decent shot at ending this. I think if he were to get into the White House, it's a totally different topic. But to turn to what Trump said that same night with his interview with Tucker, he explicitly said, like, we need to, end this. And if I were in, it would have never happened. And I believe him because he actually was really good at diplomacy. I mean, he made some really good points in that Tucker interview. And he would have been great at this moment on the stage. I mean, because he did, avoid this conflict happening. I mean, Putin did not invade Ukraine when Trump was in there. And he did meet with, the leaders of North Korea and China. And he was doing actual diplomacy and talking to people and not just sending, weapons and money over to fight a proxy war, in another country. So I think that, this was a strong moment for Vivek. And, DeSantis even had an okay moment, I think, here too, when he said, Europe should handle this then if it's their conflict. So I think that this was a strong overall moment for him, and everybody else looked like the same old, neocon and then neo-lib talking points on the other side. It's all the same uniparty, pro-war stance from everybody else.
Yeah, so I actually agree with that. And I think that, and believe it or not, I actually think that there were good moments in that the clip that you played. There were good moments for both Mike Pence and Ramaswamy. And if you listen to the audience, they seem to believe that. Now, Pence at some point was booed because he went to attacking Ramaswamy. But this whole neocon strategy of strength around the world, or strength through diplomacy, or whatever that phrase is. It's a common phrase that we use, and that is the neocon perspective. And so I thought that Pence was able to articulate that, even though I didn't agree with him. Same thing with Vivek. Vivek did articulate what I think a lot of people in the country are feeling, especially when we're talking about the money that we continue to send over to Ukraine. We know right now that Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, and Boeing and all of these defense contractors are making a killing, and they're hand over foot because of the money that we're spending, the money that we're sending over there. And I thought that it was a missed opportunity, because this was a perfect opportunity for somebody to actually say, you're talking about a one-liner or, some talking points. They could have easily folded Maui into this discussion about the billions that we continue to send to Ukraine, while the Biden administration is offering $700 to the residents of Maui. That was an opportunity to kind of get in there that I thought that they missed. But I thought that Vivek, he did well in articulating that anti-war position. I'm not convinced that if Vivek became president of the United States, he would do much different than any other Republican. I think he would continue to fund the war. And even with Ron DeSantis actually articulated Donald Trump's position that he continued to say for 4 years about Europe and the rest of the world paying their fair share. That's what he said, that Europe needs to pay their fair share. Oh, okay, they never have. And I don't know what he would do as president of the United States to ensure that they did.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I had just turned to him when we were listening to Ron DeSantis' spiel about the border and the security. I'm like, that is literally Trump's 2016 playbook. He is literally playing that same song, even though it's clear that that wasn't ideal. It hasn't been done right. And the winds have shifted. Like, Trump recognizes that the winds have shifted on that. He's not harping on that anymore. So it's interesting. Like, DeSantis is still stuck in 2016.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.